begin.
Hello, my name is Donald Van Blake. I'm a native Plainfielder, and I have been very active in many of the Plainfield African American or black projects. I was very active back in the 60s in the great American Black Revolution. That's what I call it, the Black Revolution. In Plainfield, we had a very active black community here. They took part readily in protesting. When I say protesting, I think I was chairman of the NAACP Political Action Committee, and we decided that we wanted to let people know that we were protesting along with the nation, the African Americans of the nation. And so we organized marches in Plainfield after 5 o'clock because everybody had to work. And we marched usually down Watchung Avenue to Front Street, then went up Front Street, went up front to Plainfield, and then we came down, went over and came down 2nd Street. We very often congregated, not congregated, but we organized and got together at the Friends Meeting House on the corner of East 3rd Street and Watchung Avenue, right next to the post office there. And at that time, I had chosen, or I thought of, the meeting house because I was a Quaker at that time. I was a member of that meeting house. Dave was also Dave was also, you get old, you forget words, for Christmas sakes. Dave was a very active member in the NAACP at that time. He and Shirley Wren was also very active in the NAACP. At that time, we had offices up at old Dr. Dura's house. He was dead at the time. And,
excuse me, do you remember the year that you began doing the marches and when you were involved with the NWC?
You know, I can't remember the year exactly. All I remember is back in the 60s, wasn't it? Yeah. And Dave, Christmas things, I can't say his last name. I know his last name. I was at his house yesterday. Dave was so involved in the protest that he ran on a national basis for the office of the President of the United States. I don't know how he got out from under that. He was paying that debt for years. I guess he paid it off.
What motivated you to get involved in the first place?
You know, people used to ask me that, and I used to tell them I couldn't imagine black people protesting and I not being a very definite part of it. It seemed as natural as breathing that I would be a part of the national black movement. I had fought in World War II in a segregated outfit. It was an all-black outfit, or a couple of them I fought in, with the exception of officers, some of them had white officers. It was never a good situation. And so I had very negative feelings when after the war was over. I was out in 1945. I went in the war was in 41, December 7th, 1941. And I was in 42, 43. And I went overseas in 43. And I went over to North Africa. They shipped us over. And then we left there after that, and we went up and went into Italy. And we fought up the Italian peninsula. Places like, people don't know about places like this. Anzio. There was a lot of fighting in Italy. Most people know about the great Normandy invasion. But anyway, in 45 I was out. I had been discharged. I had enough points. I and a bunch of other guys had enough points that they discharged us. They didn't even take us over to the Pacific. They discharged us. We were happy about it too, because most of us had been over 2.5, 3 years. We were damn glad to get out. So when the protest came, a lot of these experiences were still vivid in my mind. And it ain't never been happy being black. All black people were in the process of protesting in some way or another. So when we started here in Plainfield, also in Plainfield, one of the biggest things we did, from the NAACP here in Plainfield, there were other people sent, we sent 6 buses down on the march on Washington. We were there when Martin Luther King spoke. We were right there at the lagoon, and we had ridden down all night.
How did you feel about the speech once you were there and live in person?
Oh, it was wonderful. It was wonderful. I had given we had the buses full, and I had given my seat to an 85-year-old man. His name was Mr. Liberty. He had changed his name. He was an immigrant, and he had changed his name. I don't know, he was from one of the Slavic nations. And he was a printer on Park Avenue. His shop was on Park Avenue. And he was 80-something at the time. And there was only one seat, and I let him have my seat. And so I stood up all the way down and stood up all the way back. But that was a very small thing. And Mr. Liberty said, we should do this every month. He was a great guy.
Now, what message would you like to leave for the younger generation?
The one thing that has evolved in my mind, and I guess most other people, is that really and truly the Black Revolution started the movement of revolution and revolt, not revolt so much, but change all over the world. Women started revolting or change, and people started protesting all around the world. And really, we had set the thing in motion.
Okay, so in closing, what would you like to say for this part one of reflecting on the past in Plainfield and Black history?
Well, in part one, I think I should get some more data together. And then you just mentioned that, what dates? I have to go look up the dates now, and I was there. I was on the streets here in Plainfield.
Please understand that for the remembrance, it's the passion, it's the fact that you were motivated to get involved. Like you said, how you felt you needed to be a part of it. That's something everyone needs to hear, no matter what year it took part, because many people should feel the same way. So we can go through the details in a part two, but for all those who are watching, you know, it's to inspire them, hopefully, to get involved on something positive. If you see a wrong...
What you're saying is very true, because not all people were willing to march and put themselves right out there in front of the cameras day in and day out. A lot of black people I'm talking about did not want to be seen on the streets walking. Right here in Plainfield, there were a lot of my friends. Some of them used to chide me, "What are you doing marching up and down and singing?" And I would tell them I didn't know any other way. And, well...
Before we end this for now, who at the time inspired you the most to get involved in black history and civil rights?
Well, it was all coming together. Martin Luther King, for one thing, and Malcolm X, and all the leaders and the protests that were beginning. It was a very exciting time. Every day we came home to see what the radio said or what happened. I'm so thankful that I was a part of that movement. I'm so thankful that it caught me at a period of my life when I was able to at least contribute that. I'm very happy that my son saw me as a protester.
That's excellent. Well, we're going to conclude this first part. And our second installment, we would like to have your two friends that were also active as part of our second part. But this is the conclusion of the first. So please tell everyone thank you for their time, and we're going to conclude it.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for... Because this needs to be set down and said. At no place do I know where it's written. And we were very active here in Plainfield. And I don't know any place that it's written at all. And I'm very happy that you're doing this.
My pleasure.